What are the first three verbs, nouns, and adjectives that come to your head when you when you hear the word manly? Just off the top of your head, the first three nouns, say.
Nouns. Sports. Muscles. Hair.
That's fair. And verbs. Not the first appropriate three you think of, just the first three, or maybe the first appropriate
three verbs.
Yeah.
Okay. Running, hunting, and sex. Is sex a verb?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess you can call
I
that.
don't know how to make it a verb.
I gotcha. And then the first three adjectives.
You already asked me adjectives.
Nouns.
You asked me nouns. Strong, powerful, dominant.
Cool. We're 2 for 2 on strong being the first one. I wonder how. Probably maybe that way. All right. So, next question is it's got a long setup here, but are 6 times more likely to be diagnosed with learning disabilities right now? They are 4 times more likely than women to live at home after college for a long amount of time with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
There are actually more women in college now, and for the first time in the history of the United States, there are actually more women in the workforce than there are men. There are more unemployed men currently this year. And so my question to you is why, and I don't, just off the top of your head, why do you think that might be?
I think that for a long time the shift has gone from males being powerful to females trying to gain back the power, because they were oppressed years ago, but now I think it's kind of shifting to women having almost too much power, kind of. They don't get in trouble for sexual harassment per se, but if a man does it, it's really easy to see. So I think it's the whole women trying to get that power and then having it. It's kind of switching now, because we're really concerned with everybody being equal, but it's not really equal.
So, is it society doing it then?
As opposed to individuals.
Individuals, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's society, because you always hear feminism and this and that about women need to push for their rights.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that as a woman, I feel like I'm supposed to be feeling oppressed and that I should try to overcome that. But so I think it is society.
Do you feel oppressed?
Not necessarily. Not all the time. Only in select situations.
What sort of situations do you feel oppressed?
It was a very classic example of playing football with a group of guys, and they're not gonna throw you the ball, and they're not gonna push you either, because they're gonna hurt you.
Do you think they would hurt you?
Just as much as a boy would get hurt, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, there are biological differences.
We won't go into that. But in school, you're in college where there's more women than men, and you Skidmore. Do you feel like that affects the college dynamic at all?
Hardly. I only see oppression against women in physical situations where strength is a factor and ability is a factor, but not so much with intellectual ability or anything like that.
So not either way. You don't see that girls are doing better in school or the guys are doing better in school. It's all equal.
Men and women have their different strengths. There's the stereotype that men are better at math than science, and women are better at more secretarial things or artistic things, which can be true to a certain extent, but there are always exceptions.
Well, I've heard before that girls oftentimes are given storybooks and dolls to play with, and so they get better at managing things. You play house, you get better at being a secretary, and you read storybooks, you become better at doing artistic. And guys are given blocks and Legos and stuff. So do you think that math and science and English and art thing is a. Do you believe that it's bred into us, or do you think that we're genetically predisposed to that?
It's probably bred. I think everyone can learn a certain skill and excel in it. It just depends what you choose, and you choose things based on how you're raised, kind of like that.
Cool. And do you think it's a good thing that women sort of now have a number of these numbers? There are still more male CEOs, but in the with education certainly, with more women getting college degrees every year, obviously our numbers are going to keep shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's sort of payback for years and years of second class citizenship? Or it's a good thing because women can run the world better, or that maybe that isn't. What do you think about that?
It's a good thing that our society can adapt like that. I mean, that's nice, but I know that even though there are more women in the workforce, like for every dollar a man makes, a woman makes X number of cents. So it's still it's still stratified a bit. But I think if it's possible to be equal, that'd be great. But I think that's just a hard thing to achieve, is total equality. But I mean, it shows that we can change our mindsets, and that's a positive thing, at least.
It used to be the perception that guys had to be like the breadwinner and bring home the bacon, blah 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 blah, and that they had to be very successful, strong people that were in charge to be successful, and to be attractive to women. Do you think, as a girl, do you think that's still true, that you would gravitate towards very successful, macho, manly men, or do you think that guys can be perfectly attractive without embodying some of those older, stereotypical things?
I think I could still be attracted to any guy, regardless of how successful he is, but I think when women are choosing like a mate per se, someone
like a husband.
Like a husband.
Mm-hmm.
They want someone they can rely on and feel safe with, even if they themselves are the breadwinners. But I suppose if the women know that they can bring home the bacon, they don't really care who their husband is, if they're going to be in charge anyway.
And so if they, do you think women would rather be in charge or rather not be? Or you personally, would you rather be the one who makes the more money in the relationship or the one who makes less?
Well, ideally it'd be equal. I would just like to know that I could survive on my own and be independent and not rely on anyone, but I wouldn't seek to have power over someone either.
Gotcha. And when you said feel safe in a relationship,
safe
is that like
safe?
Is that safe from like adultery and poor finances, or is that like physically safe from robbers and the person themselves?
I guess, what I meant was like financially safe and secure, and knowing that I'll be able to eat and like survive, but also I guess you do want someone to protect you, and men are stereotypically stronger, so you kind of want that. But I don't know, you could take kickboxing class and fend for yourself.
That's good. And so another sort of nature versus nurture question. I heard somewhere that, and it's totally true, that 98 or 99% of all violent crime in the world is perpetrated by men. Do you think that's genetic, or that's a societal bred into us thing?
Well, it's probably genetic, in that like men were hunters and women were gatherers, so there's that level of competition. But also, if you think of how a boy is raised versus how a girl is raised today, they're still exposed to a lot more violence and competition, so they probably think that in order to prove themselves as a man, they need to be violent and aggressive.
And in what ways are we exposed to violence and competition that you see?
I mean, video games, the media, but I mean, girls watch that too. We're kind of desensitized to all the violence just by how much we're exposed to. But I don't know. I mean, I babysit a lot of boys, and they're always playing like war games and like stuff like that.
And do you think that girls don't pick that up because they're girls or because they, is it that society says boys should be violent, or do boys just see violence and go, well, that's a cool thing, because girls might not pick it up because it's not girls shooting one another in video games and on TV and whatnot.
So is it society telling the boys?
Yeah, I guess it's my same question again, but yeah, do you feel like because it's guys are always portrayed, people always get mad about women being portrayed as people in bikinis and sex symbols and whatever, but you feel like, I guess you already sort of hinted at it, that men being portrayed as violent people in the media, you think that affects them just as much as it does girls and whatever?
You always hear about like pressure on women to like be skinny and be the ideal, but there's also the man's version of that, and that he's supposed to be dominant and be the one objectifying the woman. So I think it's kind of equal. There's a lot of pressure for him to be aggressive as well.
Cool. And then this is more going towards the lacrosse part of my presentation. What role do you think sports play in all of this? Do you think sports are an important piece?
In masculinity.
In masculinity, but then in life, do you think they're more? I guess my first question is: are they more important to guys than to girls?
I think more boys do sports because they feel like it's something they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I think our society is going more towards equal sporting things for everyone. I don't know. More boys do sports. All boys do like Little League baseball, I feel like, when they're young, but then they kind of grow out of that, and some boys continue it and some don't. It's a healthy way for them to like use their competitive nature, if there is a competitive nature in them, and their aggression. But same thing for girls. I like being competitive and aggressive in sports.
You feel like you can find competition in other ways? You're more competitive in the classroom maybe than guys, or
Well, I think I've read something like women are more, they try to work together more, and men try to like be competitive and be on top more. So I think there is a subtle difference, but in the unique case of sports, I think everyone gets competitive and gets aggressive.
Sure. I had something good, but I totally just took my head. And I guess my final question is, in life, and in sports, is winning, that is to say, being a successful guy, but who might be a little aggressive, might not let his wife have all the freedom she wants, whatever, is that, or to be a woman who is looked after by a man and doesn't need to do her own work, whatever, and sort of winning, is that more important, or is being a nice guy who doesn't necessarily make so much money or what have you, is that more important, or a woman who makes more money than her husband or whatever?
In the eyes of the male himself, or
no, in your own eyes, which is poorly worded. Yeah, winning or playing well, is that more important, both in sports and in life? Just generally.
Playing well is definitely more important. It's nice to win,
mm-hmm.
but you can't really be proud of yourself if you got there in a bad way. I don't know. It's a very broad question, but it's definitely.
Well, in sports, maybe if you have to do something behind the ref's back to win,
mm-hmm.
Is that worth it because you won anyway?
No, you don't have, if you win in an unfair way, you don't have the gratification of actually winning, because you yourself know that you didn't actually earn it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you try to win but you fail, but you did it earnestly, then that's a lot more satisfying in the end.
In sports, certainly, but do you think the same is true in life?
Yeah, you kind of, in America at least, everyone wants to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
So if you aren't, you're not living the dream. But I think there's a lot of happiness to be found elsewhere, besides the stereotypical winning situation. So I think you'll be fine if you don't win.
All right. Well, thank you, Erin.
You're welcome.